Hello, viewers. Tonight, I'm going to talk about blackface once again. Now, for those of you who have been watching my channel, you know this is a subject that I've addressed many times, especially in regard to Japan and the history of blackface in Japan, which is not often addressed, but is very relevant to the topic because American blackface as an art was brought to Japan in 1853. Many people do not know this, and they do not care to learn it. They do not do research about it, and anytime any of us happen to have any criticism about blackface in Japan or artists who utilize blackface art in Japan, we are oftentimes denigrated and basically insulted by many bigots who, for whatever reason, think that if they tell enough of us that I suppose we're just stupid or whatnot, we would just stop talking. But when you know the history, that is very unlikely. So I happened to be scrolling through YouTube, and I suppose since I've been talking about blackface on my channel for such a long time, I happened to get an old video about Toriyama, Akira Toriyama, who passed over not too long ago, I suppose less than a year it hath been since that man has died. And so many of us people of the black social status have had a lot to say about Akira Toriyama ever since he hath been making art for Dragon Ball, ever since he created that, Dragon Ball Z, and even GT. The reason we people of the black social status have had many things to say about Akira Toriyama's art style is due to the fact that he depicts us in a classical American blackface fashion. All right? Now, some of you, maybe you're not anime fans, maybe you know nothing of Akira Toriyama. This, for one thing, is American blackface, just so you see what I'm talking about. The image is very obvious. You paint your face really dark, in some cases all black. Like this, for example, or you make paraphernalia like that. Blackface is more than just painting your face black or brown. Blackface is also the very image. You can create blackface artwork. The idea is to characterize the person of the black social status as a clownish individual who can be mocked. In other words, the whole point of this art is to make fun of the features of a person of the black social status, of a person who is dark-skinned and has woolen hair, and oftentimes bigger lips than Europeans. And so all this embarrassing artwork, we may look upon it now and perceive it as disgusting. But back years ago and even today, because it is still practiced in Japan, it still is brought to them by the Americans when they first got there. All right? This is not something that is even really that confusing to understand. Let me see, because I really do not have any articles pulled up regarding let me see. Okay. Okay. I'm going to look for an example, actually. That's what I'm going to do. Okay. There have been more than a few scandals in Japan, in sooth. This one and this one come to mind. Very popular. Soothly. So, this is not, these people, this is a long art form. Let me put it honestly. Okay. I mean, this is something done, has been done for years. There's not a secret in Japan that blackface is done. Now you may ask, what does this have to do for Akira Toriyama? This is an art that has been basically used to mock people, you know, of the black social status. The whole point of blackface is to mock the black image. In other words, regardless of why, you know, of how you do it, the idea is a black person is funny. The skin is funny. I painted my face brown. Ha ha ha. Funny. Or you wear an afro wig or wool, you know, a wool wig. Oh, I look funny, do I not? Ha ha ha. Black people are funny. That was the whole idea. The whole idea is that the black person is funny. The black person makes you laugh. The black person is a joke. And so this art form, it has a long history in Europe as well as the United States. Now, how does this relate to Akira Toriyama? It relates to his art, which is infamous for portraying people of the black social status like this. Now, I said in my other video, you would not even, as for myself, I would not even want to portray my worst enemy like this. A person with all black skin, big red lips, and big old white eyes. Now, this is a good image to look at for us because it shows off the depravity of this art form. And this was an art form that Akira Toriyama actively used, as well as other people who would go on later to create Dragon Ball GT. We had a particular character, this one, as well as General Black, who returned to a later installment, a series known as Dragon Ball GT. But all throughout, whether we are talking about Dragon Ball, which was the first anime series, we had Dragon Ball Z and then Dragon Ball GT. All throughout all of those, these shows were even airing into the 90s. We had blatant blackface art. Now you may say, well, if it is just an art style, what is the problem? The problem is this. And this image right here showeth it well. In other words, as we can see, everyone looketh different. But they all look, you know, all of the humans look human. All of the humans, for the most part, we have a bear here for whatever reason, but all of the humans look human. We have pale skin here. We have a tawny shade of skin here, a little darker shade of skin here. Everyone has regular skin shades. Everyone looks normal, except for this one. This is absolute blackface art. This is blatant blackface art. This is in line with it. This is in line with the caricature of black people in an insulting manner. This is what people of the black social status are talking about. This is what we are talking about. The people who are criticizing us for talking about it know exactly what we are talking about. The Japanese people who are trying to say and claim ignorance and naivete know exactly what we are talking about. They understand what we are talking about. They know what this is. We know what this is. Many of us have said something. I have been saying things about blackface in Japan before even Toriyama's death. All right? So, for me, this is par for the course. I am coming into this discussion that I am creating, or at least adding on to, because if I had not seen this person's video who I'm going to respond to tonight, I would not be basically extending this discussion. I would not be extending this discussion if I did not have a full knowledge of what I'm talking about. What I'm going to do is go through the history. I'm going to show Japanese Nazi culture, the idea of a Japanese honorary Aryan, the idea of Yamato Japanese, the dominant ethnic group, and their Shinto beliefs in World War II. I'm going to talk about all of those things because they are all relevant in regard to Japanese cultural, the Japanese cultural practice of blackface, in sooth. So, without further ado, I suppose I should begin. So the video in question is Akira Toriyama attacked by grifter. We often hear that word woke. That word woke came from the black American community. It has a history in our community. A very long history, actually. So for this, I'm going to go to my research notes here, and I'm going to see if I have my slide where I actually have something to help me remember this history of the word woke. It is a diagram that shows me. Here we go. Woke is Black American vernacular English. This is Black American parlance. In other words, this is a colloquialism. In other words, it means awake. So we can go as far back as 1923. In 1923, a collection of aphorisms and ideas by the Jamaican philosopher and social activist Marcus Garvey included the summons, wake up Ethiopia, wake up Africa. If you look at old history books, anyone who looked like an African was called an Ethiopian. Greeks used to call Africans Ethiopians. Very interesting. So we have 1938, blues musician Huddie Ledbetter, known as Leadbelly, uses the phrase "stay woke" in his song Scottsboro Boys. Now, stay woke as a phrase has been in the Black American community, the foundational, rooted Black American community, for a very long time. We are a non-immigrant population of people who have been in this country for a very, very long time. We have roots here. And this is a term that comes out of our communities. This is a term that we were using. And we still use it in our communities. No matter what people take it and decide to redefine it in regard to a colloquialism. No one can make that word mean anything bad to us. We want to be awake. We do not want to be asleep. And there are many people, they say, oh, this person is woke. we have to be asleep. In other words, if we talk about our matters of race, matters that have to do with us, when people are directly insulting us, when people are literally practicing an art form that is overtly racist, that is overtly racial, an art form that distinguishes you as a person of the black social status from anyone else, we are often treated by particular bigoted individuals. We are told, you are woke. Well, yes, we are. We are awake. Now, I'm not speaking on behalf of every individual. In other words, do I know all of the black people that are basically saying something about blackface? I may disagree with them on certain points or issues. I may have different politics or so forth than them, though as a Christian, as far as I'm concerned, I really do not practice politics. Nor do I have any faith in worldly nations or worldly leaders. My leader is just the Lord, Jesus Christ. That's it. But there is a matter of dignity that I take seriously. So this word woke has a history in our community. Now, 1940, the Negro United Mine Workers launched a strike in West Virginia against discriminatory pay. A black union leader speaks about learning they were being paid less than their white counterparts. We were asleep, but we will stay woke from now on. Now, one may ask, well, why do they say stay woke? That really is not good grammar. Well, no, but just as people of the white social status, oftentimes of who come from humble origins, in which very, intricate slang vernaculars and colloquialisms, parlance, so to speak, was often used. The same is true for those of us of the black social status. We have certain words that come from our culture. Even rappers like Lil B created the term based, or at least was using the term based. It may have even been popular before he started utilizing it in the black community. Many people who are conservative use the term based, oftentimes to describe things that they like. Many other people do too. This came from the rapper known as Based God. What many conservative individuals would do would take Based God's, basically the word that he says and use it for themselves. Okay? So, this is a man of the black social status. Woke also is a word that originated in the black American community. So, woke, as used by many people who are against us, who are overtly bigots, and many people who even admit that they are bigots, as we will see in the case of this man, hypnotic. I really do not know who he is hypnotizing, but anyhow, this person apparently claims that he is part of the bigot army, which is no surprise. I deal with many bigots who come to my channel, and I happen to challenge and review a good deal of content from bigots. But it is my pleasure to do so, because I often do not receive much in the way of challenge. What I am bringing out tonight are all going to be verifiable facts. You can check them yourself in the comment forum. I will have links. I will give a full description. In the description box, you will be able to look at everything. You will be able to review all of this information for yourself easily. So in other words, we have here 1962. William Melvin Kelly's essay, If You're Woke, You Dig It, appears in the New York Times. 1972, author Barry Beckman uses the word woke in his 1972 play, Garvey Lives. We have Erykah Badu's 2008 song, master teacher, uses the lyrics, stay woke. 2010's woke undergoes dilution and starts to be broadly used as a catch-all term to describe social justice. This is when people of different groups and different races and ethnicities, so to speak, different social statuses, started to take the word woke, and basically they start using it for their own causes and movements. So it quickly becomes appropriated and transformed into something negative to describe anything having to do with inclusivity or anti-discrimination. That is all groups, the sexual groups, all the other groups, all the other races, Latinos, a great deal of people start to take stay woke and woke as a word in terms of slang and colloquialism and use it. And of course, conservative people who are often against those groups, in one wise or another, decided, well, everything woke is bad. This term came from the civil rights movement, and those of us who know its history as people of the black social status, you can call us that, but it will never be an insult to us. You can call people that, the people who do not know the history of the word woke, in regard to as being a parlance word, they will shy away from your criticism. Those of us who do know the history of that word, we are not ashamed of it. Being awake is our culture. Being awake to the designs of our enemies and bigots is our culture. That's part of our history. It absolutely is. 2017, appearance of Stay Woke as a category on Jeopardy! 2020, Hulu series Woke premieres. 2022, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, Blanco Latino, because among people from Latin American countries who speak Spanish, you have three castas. You have the highest, Blanco, you have Mestizo, mixed, and you have Negro. Mestizo, for the most part, are light-skinned people groups, basically with straight hair or loose curls. All right? There's a whole racial system in Latin American countries. So he signs into law, Stop Woke. The people who use this term, who denigrate this term, often know that this term came from the black American community. It is obvious. This has to do with how we speak in regard to our black American vernacular. All right? Many people know that. They know that this is a term utilized in a slang fashion, that we mean awake, but actually, according to them, it is always a bad thing. But we who are talking about this word in a positive connotation, the original connotation in regard to its slang nature in our vernacular as people of the black social status, that word means awake. We're saying we are awake. Stay awake. Do not be asleep. People are against you. You have no allies. Stay awake. No one is your ally. This country is full of people who are against you, and you should be awake. So this is the idea. This was what this term meant. It meant stay awake, stay aware, be prepared. People are going to come against you. People are going to denigrate you or try to. Are you prepared? Will you stay awake? Will you stay woke? This is the idea. Be ready to defend your rights. Be ready to defend your dignity. Be ready to have some dignity. Be aware. Be awake. Now, he is going to be talking about a person. I do not know this person. We are going to watch, basically, we're going to see a few images of this person because he is going to basically as far as from what I know, I have not listened to this video, but I know he's going to do a lot of insulting in it regarding this person. Before we begin this video, I want to take some time and look at the thumbnail that he decided to use here for this person. The person in question has a very, how should I say, odd appearance. I do not know what to say. I do not particularly approve of the way this person's dressing, but he is not me. I cannot force anyone to dress how I would like a person to dress. But anyhow, this is the thumbnail, race grifter. We have Mr. Popo, a character from Akira Toriyama's Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. So it says right up here in, sort of Ebonics type slang, y'all really praising Akira and shit? Cuh, we don't be looking like Mr. Popo, cuh. We not alike at all. So this person, one of his points, so to speak, if you can even call it a respectable point, because it is not. What I'm going to play is not going to be any type of intelligent address of the issue that people of the black social status often have with people like Akira Toriyama's work. We're just going to receive a bunch of insulting and saying, you cannot talk about a dead man. Where do we live? Exactly. We cannot talk about dead men. That is off limits. I find that quite quaint and ridiculous. Whose standard for respectability do we have to follow? But anyhow, many of us who say anything regarding race and Toriyama are told this. But anyhow, as you can see, that's a pure piece of blackface art. Mr. Popo is purely blackface art. Black skin, big lips. Now you could say that that is another race other than black, but you cannot. You cannot say that Mr. Popo is an alien because all of the people with brown and black skin, all of the people with the so-called African phenotype, all have big lips, big googly eyes. That is blackface. This makes a lot of people laugh. They think it's funny. And they think that if they criticize those of us who happen to say anything about it enough, and they insult us enough, that will make us people of the black social status, us Negroes, stop talking about it. Us Nigers are supposed to be obedient. In sooth. Now, some people might think I would be adverse to those words, Negro and Niger, and the N-word in general, but I'm not. Any one of you bigots who wants to come into my comment section and argue, you can just go straight to the word that you want to use. All of you people who approve of this form of art is obvious discrimination. Who would draw a race of people like this? Pure black skin and big lips. But the Greek poet Homer said that the Africans were blameless Ethiopians. Back then they called Africans Ethiopians. And in the Bible, in the book of Acts, it says that the first Christians at Antioch were called Niger. Niger being Latin meaning black. So, for those of us who know our history and even know the biblical scriptures, we are not in the least ashamed about Niger, the N-word, so to speak. That word is a great word of praise to us, and we hope that people who know that that word is the word that was assigned to the first Christians in Antioch, and anyone who knoweth about our culture would know. Those of us of the black social status, for the most part, are very serious about religion, very serious about God and Jesus. And so for Niger to be in the Bible, that is quite significant. None of us would ever be intimidated by anyone using that term or trying to denigrate us, because to us, we know Jesus said, before they hated you, they hated me first. And we know this. Contempt is not an argument. Despise is not an argument. And oftentimes, many of the people who disagree with me come into my comment section. They can provide me with no history, no articles, no sources, no citations, no quotations, basically supporting their arguments. They simply have contempt. Oh, I'm a bigot and I like Toriyama's work and you are wrong. And that is all you will receive. You will not receive an argument. You will not receive an argument in favor of this. They like this. They like this because they like what this represents. They want to see those of us of the black social status, us Negroes, put in our place. This is what people like Hypnotic want to see. They want to see this. They like this. They will never have complaints about this. Those people like himself have no respect for you if you're of the black social status. He wanteth you to approve of it and not say a single word about it, and if anything, agree with it. People like him want people of the black social status to basically have no strong opinions or issues with this. And so there are people like him who will criticize others for even saying words about it. And so the idea will be, what he's going to express is that he is disrespecting the man in question. In this video, is going to be disrespecting a dead person. Anyhow, I believe I've talked enough. I think you can all see the matter of dispute, of conversation, so to speak. Let us begin. Really, truly.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have yet another example of a person who is deciding to take Akira Toriyama's death and make it into something where they want to attack him and the way that he drew black characters because they are racial grifters, and they didn't want to do it until he was dead, like the true cucks that they are. Ladies and gentlemen, this...
Which is not at all true. Us people of the black social status, there have been many of us who have been talking about Akira Toriyama for a very long time. All right? So, I'm going to show you a few screenshots of the video in Sooth so you can see them. And of course, he's going to call a person who does not agree with him a cuck because he has no argument. He has no argument to argue in favor of this art. And those of us of the black social status have always been expressing very strong opinions about Akira Toriyama's blackface art. If we were not talking about it, no one would really even know anything about it because we were the ones spreading the message about his art. Akira Toriyama was living even then. This is why, as far as I know, in the revamped Dragon Ball Kai, as far as I know, they had changed Mr. Popo's color to blue, as far as I know, to censor it, because people had realized that that particular art of Mr. Popo was blackface art. That was what it was. So let me take a look here, because I know Mr. Popo was depicted in that way. They made him blue. So I believe they changed his color in Dragon Ball Kai to blue. So what does the AI say? Mr. Popo was recolored as blue-skinned with orange-yellow lips in 2009. And we all know why that was done. It was done because they wanted to make it seem like it was less racist. They wanted to not have that be blackface art. It was blackface art. That was what it was. That is what it is. This is so obvious that all you have to do is take a look at American blackface paraphernalia, American blackface actors, and you can see the big lips, the dark painted skin, and all of those details. This is obvious. So this is not something a person really needs to do very much research about. All you have to do is type in American blackface and you can find images of the good old KKK and all of these groups, all of these people of the white social status who used to derive great joy from this display and spectacle. All right? Clearly. So, because you are a person of the black social status who may say, well, this is racial. This is obviously racist, and I have enough dignity to know when I am being disrespected and openly insulted. But obviously, let's see what else he has to say, because I am going to have to do most of the talking, because most of what he is doing is just simply going to be just insult after insult. Now, he's going to start talking about this man's appearance, and basically, you know, he will have nothing to say about the nature of the art whatsoever. Whatsoever.
This guy completely blocked me, mind you, after I called him out on Twitter, and we'll go over my post in a second. But for those of you curious, Geek Detective over here was nice enough to screenshot. I mean, I would have got it anyway, but thank you, Geek Detective, for doing your work. I appreciate you. He is Buster Keaton, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, this creature that you're looking at right now is a real creature. It is a real thing. Unfortunately, I feel really bad for the black community right now because you have to claim this one. This is a person who thought it was a great...
And you have to wonder, regardless of how a person looks, regardless of how weird he may look, and let me go to the image, and we might as well just review some screenshots from this video just to see how it looketh. The person in question is this man right here. We're going to take a look at him. Actually, this is a 200%. I wanted to get a 100%. But this is the man. Buster Keaton, or whatever his name is. And he looks weird, but, you know, of course people are making fun of him like he's fat and so forth. That has really nothing to do with the conversation, to be honest, other than the fact that you just have people who want to insult him based on how he looks. But that really does not address the accusations of blackface art, which it obviously is. Because they cannot deny that Akira Toriyama was using blackface art. So instead of actually addressing what type of art Akira Toriyama was using, they talk about the appearance of black people who happen to be criticizing Akira Toriyama's art. And actually, when you think about what blackface is, it is criticizing the appearance of black people. So whether you like this man or not, which, do I approve of his fashion? Do I approve of his style? I would not personally dress this way or have hair like this, but he does. I mean, that is just what it is. These people seem to think somehow their bullying, bigotry, and contempt is an argument. And it is not. And they call it a roast, but it really is not much because it's not very creative. Is this all you've got? If the point is that Akira Toriyama was basically creating blackface art, what is the argument against it? But let us read the description of this man's Twitter, X, so to speak. Leader of the bigot army, host and founder of Saturday Night Hypnosis. Well, there you go. He's the leader of the bigot army. No surprise there. So he saith, why do you look like this? This is why blacks sold other blacks into slavery, to try to cleanse the gene pool from this shit happening. Holy fuck. I've never seen an uglier creature in my life, and I've seen a lot in this space. You see how instead of actually talking about blackface in Akira Toriyama's work, you would think they would have a counter argument. All right, you do not like what he hath to say. Peradventure, you could argue in favor of Akira Toriyama's artwork. No, he will not, because it is obvious to all what type of artwork Akira Toriyama was creating. We just looked at it. We just verified that that artwork is actual blackface paraphernalia. And none of these people have been able to deny it. Instead of denying it, since they cannot argue against it, they have decided they will insult their opposition. And they think if we just insult them enough, they will stop talking about our beloved Akira Toriyama. But some of us are made of tougher stuff than that. And regardless of how many times any one of these people will insult a person like me, if they want to insult me as well, which I have basically just got into this fray at a late date, mind thee, it will not affect me, because contempt does not affect me. You can come into this comment section and call me the N-word. I will basically refer you to the Bible, where the first Christians were called the N-word Niger. In some translations, it literally says black. That is not an insult to me. So if I can absorb the insult of the N-word without any problem and actually say, bless the Lord, thank you, it is such an honor to be so. We even have verses in the Bible, like for Job, called perfect, in the beginning of that very book. There's a verse there that says, my skin is black upon me. That is nothing to me. Niger, the N-word means black in Latin. Negro means black. These are the strongest insults in the world. These are very powerful, very old insults that mean good things to me. And to me, that is a blessing from my enemies. As far as I'm concerned, that means nothing. So all this talk, oh, you blacks, blacks sold other blacks into slavery. To people who built their country on stealing from American Indians, stealing land, stealing resources, breaking treaties, and forming banks through slave wealth, forming a whole economy through slave wealth and land theft. And that is nothing to be proud of. So when you come into contact with people like Hypnotic, they will repeat the same things, and they cannot extrapolate upon them at all. All they can say is, well, blacks sold other blacks into slavery. Well, so did white people. I mean, that's where the word slave comes from. Slav, as in Slavic, as in Russian, as in serfs, basically similar to serfs of Europe, indentured servants. It was not shadow slavery, it was not race-based slavery, but it was still slavery in some sense. So what does that even mean? That does not mean anything at all. It just means that not only did they enslave their own people in Europe, those particular people who practiced slavery, but those people also enslaved people from far away in Africa, and American Indians as well. If you read the earlier periods of slavery where you had American Indians, the slaves that they brought from Africa to the USA, which equaled in total about up to 400,000, if not less. And indentured servants, those people, and American Indians. You had three groups of slaves. Pick which one, whichever group you want. All of those people were being used as basically free labor. The indentured servants, for the time being, of course, it was a different form of slavery, but it was still slavery. Those were white people of the white social status, so to speak, Europeans, who had enslaved other Europeans and had them working right alongside people of the black social status, whether they be American Indian, copper-colored, or African, or part of that group of about, 400,000 Africans who came here over time. So that is very interesting. But where did that come from? What does that have to do with the discussion about a man drawing blackface art? What does that have to do with this discussion? Not much, but I think he thinketh that he hath a point. And he has to use curse words to sort of make himself seem more intimidating than he is. In other words, to have his contempt work for him, because he cannot build his case with argumentation. He needs to basically make himself seem threatening by using curse words and insults. All right? So we're reading, basically this whole post. There's literally no way that you found a way to combine all the ugliest stereotypes into one being. Which, of course, those stereotypes are obviously relevant to him because he's commenting upon them, and he is the leader of the bigot army. So, of course, we would imagine that he would certainly be applying all of those stereotypes to a person of the black social status who looks a bit, goofy in a sense. But is it any of his business that this man looketh goofy? We do not know how this man Hypnotic looks because he is not showing his face. And of course, neither am I. But nonetheless, to make fun of someone's appearance, interesting when the argument has to do with Akira Toriyama's art. Peradventure, he could address that, but he is not going to. Okay, then you have the audacity to complain about Mr. Popo, of course, because it is blackface art. So you can blatantly see that he has decided to compare this man to Mr. Popo, which the difference between Mr. Popo and him, let us be technical. Let us be technical since, I suppose he thinketh that he hath some great point. Because he gave us an image to compare it to, and we can really, by this image, really show the difference between blackface art in many cases and a real person. So as goofy as this person looketh, his skin is brown. I know we are called black, but we are not literally black. And that is how you can tell this is just blatantly disrespectful. That is what it is. And you cannot really say this is only due to him being Mr. Popo, because there is a woman walking down the street alongside a whole host of other people, and even a bear, how fun, who literally has black skin and looks like a blackface image of the old KKK antebellum South come to life. Bless the Lord, it's right here for us to see. But of course, we are supposed to ignore this and just take this man's insults as relevant and his just nonsensical cursing as relevant. Because after all, he has a point to express, but he really can only express it through insulting a person and just basically cursing. So get ready for a lot of nastiness. He really is going to show it.
Great idea to attack Akira Toriyama, and I'm going to absolutely destroy him in this video.
I hardly see how that is possible, because he's already failing. All he's done right now is insult. I want to see the points.
Now again, ladies and gentlemen, this person, you can already tell where they stand. This man sucks an insane amount of it probably is very apparent by his, I guess, what do they call them? What do they call them now? Racially insensitive stereotypes when you talk about how big your motherfucking lips are and how big your fucking nose is. Yeah, I guess it's racial stereotypes, you fuck. But
well, yes, it is, to be frank, because anyone with much common sense would know that all of these things are entirely superficial. Talking about how big a person's lips are, this is what blackface art is. This is what blackface art is built upon. How big the lips are, how dark the skin is, how woolly the hair is. All you have to do is go look at some images from the American South and do some research about it. But you see, he is actually just proving all of our points. He is giving us a great gift in regard to showing us where the impetus for blackface come from. He clearly is doing it. So the idea is to mock the image of a black person, which he approves of. He clearly does. He is the leader of the bigot army. We expect nothing less.
But still, you want to take it upon yourself to attack Akira Toriyama, who's dead and is unable to defend himself. Very interesting. Fuck this, man. Let's get into this.
All right. At no time has Akira Toriyama ever talked to or addressed those of us of the black social status, even when we were talking about this when he was alive. This man is basically engaging in blatant lies, because the reason people knew about it being blackface mostly was because of people talking about it at the time, especially people of the black social status. This was known when Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball GT, and Dragon Ball Z were released. We were all seeing this, and many of us had recognized that it was blackface. We already knew it was blackface. So is he a genius? Is this person somehow telling us that we just recognized it was blackface in the art and we're just talking about it now? No, this is a lie. This is a complete lie, to be entirely honest. We had clearly seen this. We had clearly seen this in Japan, and we have been talking about it for a very long time. We've known about it. All right? Many of us have known about it. Even people who are not of the black social status knew about what that was. Excuse me, we simply did. To say that somehow this was just some new thing that we are doing, that we have been doing, is quite ridiculous. Now, I would also like to say that this idea that you cannot talk about a person who is dead, who has done something wrong, is quite ridiculous. A lot of these people who we deal with will talk about, oh, we do not have freedom of speech. They're trying to cancel us because we said something racist. Well, just as they have the right to say racist things, we have the right to say when something is racist. And it doth not matter if the person in question is creating racist blackface art when he is alive or dead. We can talk about him either way. And obviously, if they are making blackface art of us who are of the black social status, it would stand to reason that we would have far less respect for him than people who approve of blackface art, which this person does. He will not say anything about the art in question, but he will insult, and I am listening to hear him say anything if he will, which I doubt that he will. But anyhow, let me continue. Souffle. Okay.
This video. So we have a video from Daquan Wilson. Now, he's a funny ass dude. I've seen some of his original videos. Shout out to Daquan. I'm not Wilson. I'm sorry. Wiltshire. My bad. Daquan is a funny dude. Go follow him on Twitter. Absolutely hilarious. He is also a fan of anime and manga. He's a fan of Dragon Ball. And he saw what this app.
Now, regarding this man, he is going to refer to a man of the black social status. I have looked a little into the video just to see images and just to take screenshots. This man is referring to a fan of Akira Toriyama. And let me say something. Fan means fanatic. Being a fan is not an expression of intellectual honesty, of intellectual capability in any sense of the word. Being a fan is not an expression of integrity, and it never hath been. Now, he's talking about this man, Daquan Wiltshire, who decided to say some things about people who are criticizing Akira Toriyama. And this man, Hypnotic, he is going to take this as basically a way to bolster his position, even though he has yet to argue against the use of blackface art. He has yet to address it, and they will not argue against it. They just have their contempt as an argument. They think if they insult us enough who have something to say about Akira Toriyama and his art, that somehow that will make us feel bad to the point where we will not speak about it. But he is very wrong in that regard, because some of us will, and some of us will say, no, keep going. We want you to say even more, because when all you have is insults, you really do not have much. And when I am saying you can come to my comment forum and write the N-word all the way out, or even say it in the video, and I will say thank you for the praise. The Christians of Antioch were called that. You have no insult that could really even get under my skin. This is all he's doing, is insulting. And this is all Daquan did. There are people who have no real regard to their own self-dignity, to be honest. They do not care if they see blackface art and they are a person of the black social status. They have no regard for their history, the history that their ancestors had to deal with on a day-to-day basis and had to live with. So there are people like Hypnotic who will basically take that as vindication for their own views, which are purely bigoted. After all, he is the leader of the bigot army. We should not be surprised. That was him who said that, not me. Anyhow, let us continue to listen.
Absolute idiot decided to post, and he took it upon himself to make a video that I thought was pretty funny. Now, he said he wasn't going to post this video on his YouTube.
How many insults does he have to use before he feels essentially he has really made his point? Because obviously he's not making very many points. He's just one more insult after the next. An insult, insult, insult. Is that all? Souffle, is that all? Just say the N-word. We know you want to say Niger. Say it with a hard R in Sooth. Say what you want to say. Say what you're feeling, because this is not hitting on much. This is not making me feel all that bad. I want to hear an argument. That would be an ideological challenge. But this is not an ideological challenge. This is just filthy and vulgar. That is all it is. Low class. That is what it is. Low class, lowly. Let us see what this man hath to say.
Because he doesn't want it to get banned. But I am going to post this video because I'm a psychopath, and that's what we do here in the Bigot Army, and I thought it was pretty funny. So let's play it, and then I'll come back.
You heard it from him. He claimed that he himself was a psychopath. He said that. He embarrassed himself. So obviously you would think, what relevance or point does a psychopath have at all? You know, in Sooth. You would ask the question. It begs the question. He's a bigot and a psychopath. All right. Is that supposed to be impressive? What is the point in telling the audience this? What at all is the point in telling the audience this? The audience most certainly of fellow bigots in the Bigot Army in Sooth. Quite something.
While I'm scrolling through Twitter, right? And I see this tweet come across my timeline that says, y'all are saying rest in power for a man who literally designed this racist-ass character design. Now, we all watch Dragon Ball Z, so we've seen Mr. Popo before, but I can understand why this person got mad, because this looks like it. Look at this nigga. I can't believe this nigga chose to disrespect Akira Toriyama on the day of his death. Well, since you want to send Akira Toriyama off with that, let's see if we can send you off with this. You don't get your big ass Bridget from Trolls Rage.
Is this supposed to be funny? My goodness, I've seen the video. I've seen the video personally, and I have to say, the quality of humor is quite pathetic. And for a man of the black social status, I really do not know if this man is he Caribbean, peradventure? Is he from here? Is he a black American who has roots here? You know, a Negro of the land, so to speak. Who is he? This man really lacks style. He's not even very funny. I expected some humor that was better than this. All you have is he looks like Mr. Popo. Is that really it? But does that address the question of the quality and nature of the art? Because the point is that the point that many of us make and have been making while Akira Toriyama was living, and even now, as he is dead, is that Akira Toriyama has been making blackface art. That has been our point. And many of us who will make the argument will very logically make, we will cite blackface being practiced in Japan, there being a history of blackface in Japan brought to Japan by Commodore Perry in 1853. And we are going to review that very soon. As you can see, Shipboard Entertainment that Commodore Perry brought over to Japan. When he first arrived there, Japanese people were taught what a Negro was, their role in society, and why this was funny. He brought Negroes, American Negroes, to Japan on his ship to show them to the Japanese. The Japanese kept this art form and have been performing it ever since. They were taught how to paint the brown skin on their faces, the black skin upon their faces, how to form wigs, how to paint their lips red to look like a stereotypical Ethiopian, so to speak. Quite something. So back then they called them Ethiopian concerts of minstrel shows, in sooth. So this is the history. So does that address the history? Let's just talk about how this man looks. Oh, it's disrespect when someone talketh about Akira Toriyama's history of creating blackface art. But the question is the argument being addressed? And it obviously is not being addressed. Now, it is very obvious where that art form cometh from. And as I'm talking, I'm showing you the images over and over again so that you have no illusions about how Akira Toriyama hath drawn his characters. In the case of this character down at the bottom here, this is a character I believe in Dragon Ball GT. And he is also drawn the same way. And as far as I know, several different artists were working upon Dragon Ball GT, and Akira Toriyama only drew a few characters for that particular installment of the Dragon Ball franchise. That entry in the franchise, which is basically at least 3, including the later Dragon Ball Super, which would come afterwards. But at that point, when Dragon Ball Super basically arrived, which was basically is the current, the last installment that we've had, as far as I know, they have, for the most part, stopped doing this. But for the most part, for the whole history of Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball GT, we have seen characters like this. All of them are black people. People of the black social status, us Nigers, us Negroes, are portrayed this way, in sooth. And I'm not ashamed of calling myself black. I'm not ashamed of being a Niger. It is a great pleasure to be. And for the bigot, there is no greater pleasure than using that word. But for me, that word is a great honor. The Christians of Antioch were called Niger. And many of the bigots the white supremacists who come to this comment section, they really think that their contempt for me meaneth something, when many of them would consider themselves Christian, or maybe even some of their family consider themselves Christian. And if you go right into the Bible, you can see where the first Christians mentioned in Antioch are called Niger. That's right, the N-word, in sooth. Which I love to review that because I like to show how fearless I am in the face of that word and any insult any of these people can throw at me, because it meaneth nothing to me. Forsooth. Now let me take a look here. We're going to continue this video.
Timrod, Elder Guru, Majin Buu, Fat Gotenks, Haggis, Great Leaf, Janemba, Black Yajirobe, Luffy.
Oh my goodness, is that supposed to be funny? Weird voices. This is so ridiculous. Wow, that was so funny I forgot to laugh. Please. Oh my goodness, this is so banal and boring.
Grimace, Queen, Big Mom, Gloria from Madagascar, PJ from a goofy...
Oh my goodness, he should calm down. He should calm down. This is just embarrassing, in sooth. I was expecting something funny, but even just listening to this, I've watched the video. What point is he making? Address this disrespect against Akira Toriyama. Address what people are saying. Because if they address what people are saying, they will have to address the art. They will have to address the fact that in the art, black characters of the black social status look completely different than characters of other races. But this is what people like Hypnotic, leader of the bigot army, wanteth. He wanteth Nigers who are very compliant with this type of bigotry. If you keep your mouth shut and just be a fan, he will not have a problem with you. But if you decide to say, wait, Akira Toriyama is creating art that is stereotypical blackface. In other words, this is an obvious art style that hath a long history in Europe, America, and Japan, because it was brought to Japan by Commodore Perry in 1853 when he brought the minstrels, people who dressed up in this particular makeup to make themselves look dark, brown, and black, and did minstrel shows, just like the old-fashioned South, just like the old KKK used to enjoy, and the old antebellum Southerners used to enjoy. North and South, minstrel shows were employed and quite popular. It was quite popular to see these people of the white social status dressing up like these people of the black social status because they are considered to be clowns. Us Negroes are considered to be clowns. How joyous and excellent it is to understand the history of it all in full and understand the insecurities of some people. Bless the Lord.
Movie Grown Sister, Rasputia, B&B the Fag Man, Steal from Juice, Faison Love.
How's this funny? How is this man making a bunch of incomprehensible noises funny? It's hard for me even to go back to my gameplay because I'm just listening to this man make these noises. And I'm thinking, is this supposed to be a funny little skit that he hath done? This doth not sound so funny, enjoyable, witty, humorous. What is this?
Big X the plug, look at this fat ass.
Is that it? Is that it? Is this funny? How is this funny? This doth not even sound funny. The video was not. This is ridiculous.
8 Mile, built ass, the fuck up out of here.
What? Is all this cursing and weird noise, all these weird noises, is that supposed to be funny? Really, in sooth, is this supposed to be funny to anyone? This is lowly. This is lowbrow, bottom of the barrel attempt at humor. This is pathetic. Oh, wow.
Oh, my God.
Of course, the leader of the bigot army would think that is funny. He doth not have even a high sense of humor. That's ridiculous. All this yelling and screaming and curse word here, curse word there. Where is the appeal of that humor? I really want to know.
Gotta love it, man. You gotta love it. And I felt that.
Not
I could
really.
see it in his eyes, man. I could see it in his eyes. This is what everybody else is feeling.
So tell me why I'm scrolling.
This is what everybody else is feeling because ultimately, these people are attacking Akira Toriyama in complete bad faith. They are also the biggest pussies I've ever seen in my life that they were attacking.
Not really. Not really. Tacking in bad faith? Not really. And all they have is name calling. Notice that he hath not made one argument in favor of this art, and he has already lost the argument on the grounds that he has already admitted that he is a bigot. So obviously, if he is a bigot and he is arguing in favor of blackface, then, this is his position. His position is right here. If you want to see Hypnotic's position and people who basically are like him and agree with Akira Toriyama's blackface, this is their position. This is their position. This is Hypnotic's position. We do not need to express it in words, because obviously he was not going to express it in words, and he was not going to argue against any of our claims that have to do with Akira Toriyama's treatment of people of the black social status in his anime. He was not going to do that. So, to address it further, his position is also just blackface in general. This is his position. This is Hypnotic's position. This is his position. Because that is the form of art that Akira Toriyama was drawing upon. I wonder if I should take the time to read a few quotations. Basically looking at the history of this art, and I think I should do it now at this point. This coming from MIT. This is Visualizing Cultures, Encounters Facing the West. Now, what this has to do with is the fact that when the Americans had first visited Japan, in about 1853, and also 1854, the Japanese had drew what they saw. They had drawn the boats, the machines, the blackface art. They had drawn everything, all of the events, the whole experience of these Americans, what they brought, who came, all of the people they saw. They really did this. So we can read here in this article, when it came to promoting human curiosities, however, Perry was not to be outdone. The American counterpart to the sumo wrestler was white men in blackface, as well as flesh and blood Negroes. Because you see, when Perry went to Japan, of course, they decided to show the Americans their sumo wrestlers, as you can see here. But Perry had a little trick up his sleeve. He said, well, we are going to show them the good old-fashioned racist tradition of blackface. What we think of this particular people group in our country, the Negroes. So you had white men dressing in, people of the white social status dressing up as Nigers, in sooth. So in Japan, as well as elsewhere, this is a minstrel show on the Powhatan, the Americans would name their ships after American tribes that they conquered, just like we know about Apache helicopters and Tomahawk missiles. Destroying Native Americans, American Indians, taking their land, breaking treaties, and then taking the names of those tribes and naming your ships after them, naming your weapons after them. Disgusting people. Souffle, disgusting people. In Japan, as well as elsewhere on the voyage to and from Japan, Parrot's favorite entertainment was an Ethiopian concert featuring white men playing the roles of colored gentlemen of the North and plantation niggas of the South, and singing such songs as Darky's Serenade and Oh, Mr. Coon. Although the narrative dwells on the delights to the natives, these performances it remained for Japanese artists to preserve them for posterity, which they did. They preserved them for posterity. Alright? They were taught blackface by the Americans. That is who they were taught blackface from, and they have been doing it ever since. They know where it came from. They know who taught them it. They know who they are depicting when they use blackface. They know they are depicting American Negroes. That was what it was formed by. You know, basically that was what it was. The caricature is of us Negroes. Japanese people know this. American people know this. That is what blackface is. That is what it is. In sooth. So, it really feeleth good just simply to tell the truth. And the leader of the bigot army is so afraid of the truth that all he hath is insults. He hath no arguments whatsoever. And I do like using my early modern English suffixes, forsooth. But anyhow, this is the reality of it. Let us hear if he hath anything intellectual to say, anything highly intellectual to say. I doubt that he doth, but let us continue to listen.
Attack someone who just recently passed away, and you want to attack him because you want to racially grift. You want to racially grift off of someone's death. You want to pretend. Here's the best thing.
That word grift. What does the word grift mean? Because I wonder if he is applying the term correctly, or if he is just not, or if he just simply is basically utilizing this term just to make a mute point, so to speak. So we have Black's Law Dictionary, 8th edition. Grift, to obtain money illicitly by adroit use of scam, confidence game, or other fraudulent means. Deprived by deceit. What is he grifting? How is he grifting? How am I grifting? How are other people grifting? We're just talking about what we feel like talking about, in sooth. And we know there are plenty of bigots. I cannot say anything about the man in question, but I can say many of us of the black social status have been talking about this for a long time. And people like myself are certainly not going to be intimidated by a leader of bigots. That is not intimidating whatsoever. Soothly, come into my comment forum or make a video about me and call me a Niger. And do it with the hard R. I will thank you and say, goodness Lord. How excellent that is. The first Christians were called Niger. That is nothing more than a compliment. I have to say, there are people who have no arguments, all they have is contempt. This is the case now.
I want to pretend as if Mr. Popo...
But furthermore, we have every right to talk about a person who is dead. We have every right. And I want to hear the substance of this man's insult that he is talking about. And he is not talking about the substance of the insult. I want to hear it. What is the great disrespect? What is the grave disrespect that is being talked about? I want to hear it. So fastly, I want to hear
racist,
it.
Right? And yet you look almost exactly like him. You're just not as black as he is, but you damn sure got the shape. You damn sure got the lip.
Is that the level of commentary that this has been reduced to? If his skin is not black, how does he look like him? He has pointed ears. They're both fat. They're both fat. There are plenty of fat people. There are plenty of people with big lips. So this is just the level of intellectual argumentation that we have in this commentary. It is really pathetic, and I am quite, in a sense, I feel as though I'm doing you, the viewers, a disservice for even really playing this for you. But I felt the need. I said, I've been talking about this issue for a long time now. And I think it is pertinent for me to discuss some particular people who had some things to say about those of us of the black social status who had some very strong opinions about Akira Toriyama's blackface art. The master of blackface is what I consider him to be. He is the master of blackface art. Blackface art is a real art form. As can be seen, this is blackface paraphernalia. and this hath something in common with this. That too is blackface art. This is obvious. This form of art has a long history in Japan. This is obvious. So let us continue.
Lips, and if you could see Mr. Popo's nose, I guarantee you damn sure got his nose too. So I mean, what are we really talking about? What are we really?
And let me ask this question to those of you who are the viewers. Souffle, is there anything wrong with having a flat nose and big lips? We all, as people of the black social status, come in different shapes, sizes. We have different facial features. In sooth, as for myself, my nose is somewhat pointed. My lips are somewhat thin. But nonetheless, does that make me less or more than someone else? These are the age-old white supremacist, bigoted understandings that some bigots have. They, instead of forming an argument to use to basically, present to you, they will talk about your appearance. And I think this man does not really look that good, in my opinion, the man who is being shown. But at the same time, I would think, well, if he is basically stating a point about Akira Toriyama or saying something about it, you would think if he's making commentary about this, why is the commentary not addressing what this man of the black social status said? Because obviously, let me be entirely frank, all of these people, leader of the bigot army, bigots like him, they basically go around social media and basically act like a very loud minority, or whatever you might call them. And any person of the black social status who is bringing up the matter of blackface and Akira Toriyama's art, they basically insult them, and they have been doing this even when Akira Toriyama was living and breathing. And so many of us have received this type of antagonization from bigots here in the United States and elsewhere as well. And many of us have seen that no one who is basically arguing against us is able to do anything other than insult. Because the point that this is blackface cannot be denied honestly. You cannot say that the art is not blackface without addressing the obvious origins of the art. Drawing black characters this way is not something done upon a whim. It is something done by people who know about a particular way of portraying people of the black social status, us Nigers, as being flat-nosed, wide-nosed, and big lips, to the point where the lips are cartoonishly big, to the point where the lips do not even seem like they belong on the face. This is blackface art, in sooth. Now, it goeth all the way to literally drawing the character completely black, to the point where the character's skin is as black as the hair. This is done intentionally. That is literal blackface. And so you see every other race is drawn normally. Pale skin, slightly more tawny skin, pale skin here, pale skin there. All right, we have a boy with red hair, pale skin. All of those people look normal. Okay. That man over to the side, who's standing up against the wall, you can see his skin is a little bit darker. That woman's skin is a bit tawny. That woman's skin is pale. That woman's skin is paler. You can see a variety of skin shades here, but what standeth out is the woman who has obvious afro texture hair, woolly hair. Skin is black as night. Hair is black as night. hair the same color as her skin, and big lips. Making fun of us Negroes, we know it. It is not something that is a cunning little deceit. No, we see it, we understand it, we have always seen it and understood it. And many of us have been talking about this, even when Akira Toriyama was alive and breathing. Alright? The producers of the anime, they have known how problematic this hath been. And as I showed you, they changed Mr. Popo to blue. Because they knew this was blackface art, and they wanted to make it seem less serious. They wanted to make it seem, wait, we do not approve of blackface. They changed it to blue. That was when Akira Toriyama was alive, and we were still talking about it then. This man saith, we just start talking about it after he died. This is not true. But I have been talking about it even after this man has died, and I will continue to talk about those who have used blackface in the past, blackface art, drew blackface art, produced blackface paraphernalia, artwork and artistry of that sort. I will always be against it, and any man of the black social status who appreciates his lineage, his physical appearance and the physical appearance of people that look like him, his race, so to speak, will not approve of Mr. Popo or anything having to do with that, because we know what it is. We know that this is blackface. This is why they had to change it to blue. So, us stating this fact is not disrespect. This is us stating our opinions about the way he used to draw people who look like us. And not one of you bigots can make us feel 1 ounce of shame. Not one of you. You can bully some weaker people who cannot take it, who cannot take the heat, or maybe they just do not want to deal with people like yourself, and they just block and leave and say, these people are bigots. And they have no arguments, all they have is insults, so they just block you and say, forget about this.
Talking about, right? These are people who are assholes. These are people who are the lowest of the low. You already thought in your mind, damn, man, these people can't get any.
How so? How are they the lowest of the low? You can tell he said they were cucks. He said they were idiots. Insult after insult after insult. That is it. Insult after insult after insult. I want to hear the argument. I want to hear something intellectually cogent. I want to hear something substantial, and I'm not hearing anything substantial. I'm hearing a man who is a self-professed, self-proclaimed psychopath and a bigot. That really is not much. That really is not very prestigious. In sooth. Oh my goodness. This is pathetic. In my opinion.
Worse, can they? Well, no, they can. They actually can get worse. They can get so bad to the point where they're attacking someone who just recently died because they want to racially grift off his death. It is quite incredible to see this entire thing go down.
How is anyone grifting? He hath not proven that anyone is obtaining money by talking about Akira Toriyama's blackface art. To obtain money illicitly by scamming. Who is scamming? Who is playing confidence games? Who is playing confidence games? Those of us of the black social status, us Negroes, have been saying this ever since Akira Toriyama did this art and this stuff was released on TV. So, who is playing confidence games? Who is scamming? Who is making money? How much money does his channel make? These are the questions that I would like to ask. Because the man is making an accusation that he is not going to substantiate. And I find that very interesting. I do not know the man in question that he is talking about. I've just seen a few images of him. But nonetheless, this all begs the question. Who is playing confidence games? Where is the scam? It just seemeth to me as though people are just expressing their opinions as Nigers. So where's the scam?
Because someone decides they want to racially grift. And honestly, like I said, let's go back to this post. Holy fuck, I've never seen an uglier creature in my life. And I've seen a lot in this space. There's literally...
And to call a person a creature, and to think somehow you have any moral high ground, to talk about respect that you will not give, and at all, and you do not even attempt to give, which is interesting. Why would any of us respect people like this? Why would any of us respect blackface art that openly disrespects us? Why would any of us do it? That seemeth to be rather ridiculous. But regardless of how this man looks, he is dehumanizing him in the same way that blackface art hath been used to dehumanize us Negroes. So we know this. We know this. He is proving our point.
No way that you found a way to combine all of the ugliest stereotypes into one being. Then you have the audacity to complain about Mr. Popo. Laughing my ass.
Oh my, the leader of the bigots is awfully proud about that one. He is awfully proud about that tweet, which I find incredible. To think that anyone would think that this is some manner of groundbreaking point. Oh, this is a roast, bro. This is based. Oh my goodness, these people are so off point, it is ridiculous. Taking that rapper's word and saying based, that black rapper's word, that rapper of the black social status, you know, his word, and making it into one of the corniest things ever. Lord knoweth. So this is supposed to be some groundbreaking response. Wow, I really got back at him. Of course he blocked you. Of course he blocked this person. This person is an imbecile. This person is a literal leader of a bigot army. Who would not block this person on X? Now, I'm a bit different than most people. I do not block people. On my YouTube channel, I leave all of your comments up. I let bigots, white supremacists come to my comment forum and use the N-word, and I tell them thank you. Here's the verse in the Bible where that word is directly used. And it's, you know, attributed to the very first Christians, which should make anyone who professes a belief in God to think. But nonetheless, this is quite something. You know. But let me continue, because he really wants us to really analyze this tweet that he made, because he thinketh this to be quite superlative, I have to say. Let's see.
Ass off what? So I made it very clear. My intentions with this, I wanted him to understand that he is no better than the racial stereotypes that he says exist in Akira Toriyama's work. You don't know Akira Toriyama's work. You don't care about Akira.
Who is he to make those assumptions? Because it could be that you have people of the black social status who are just watching anime, and they happen to see obvious blackface art being displayed. Now, blackface art is very particular. It is an exaggeration of black features. So, I think now would be a good time for me to read more quotations from different books. So, this particular book is called Commodore Perry in the Land of the Shogun by Rhoda Blumberg. Commodore Perry had told the Japanese that he expected to return in the spring with a larger fleet. While waiting for more ships, his squadron docked at Hong Kong, known as the Man of War's paradise, plenty of women and liquor. In order to maintain control, Perry saw to it that officers drilled their men regularly, and he insisted that his crew arrange decent entertainment on board the ships. Musicians from the Mississippi gave concerts. The Susquehanna, once again using those American Indian names to name their ships, as they basically destroyed and took over those tribes and took their names and named ships and other vehicles of transport with those names. Disgraceful. How disgraceful Rome, how disgraceful Edom is. featured its Troupe of Funny Fellows, whose comical shows had female characters appropriately wigged and dressed. Costumes were expertly and inexpensively made by Hong Kong cheap labor. Men aboard the newly arrived Powhatan featured the Ethiopian Minstrels. Ethiopian is a broad term, ancient term, that Greeks used to use for all people who looked African. For them, that was for the most part dark skin, woolly hair. Minstrel shows were the rage in the pre-Civil War America, in both the slave states and in the North. Entertainers blackened their faces in order to caricature uneducated blacks. There were skits, jokes, and song and dance routines. Page 63. Once again, HarperCollins ebooks if you want this particular book. Now, the next quotation. After commissioners joined the others on deck, actually, let me improve this, zoom in, so to speak, so you may get a better view of it. Souffle. After dinner, the commissioners joined the others on deck. All the Japanese were given front row seats for the minstrel show staged by American sailors. Programs which had been printed on board ship were distributed so that the audience would know that the theatrical performance was done by the Japanese minstrels. In other words, these Japanese minstrels were trained by the Americans to do minstrel shows, and they have kept that tradition up ever since 1853. They were amused by the blackened faces, banjos, tambourines, and silly dancing. They certainly could not understand dialogue, and they knew nothing about Africans who had been brought to America as slaves. When it was time to leave, not to mention the dark-skinned Shinnecock, dark-skinned Accomack, dark-skinned Louisiana Chata, Yamasee, and other American Indians tribes on the East Coast who were also enslaved, who are part of the Negro population. Many of them are considered to be such, especially during the Jim Crow reclassification of many people. So it was not just African slaves, there were also American Indian slaves, and many of those people worked side by side by Africans and white indentured servants, which is one of the reasons why you have such a big mixture of people here in the United States. And our black social status is mixed with tawny, dark-skinned, even pale-skinned people. In the South, one drop of black blood was enough for them to consider you black. Our blood is so strong, all you need is one drop here in the United States to be considered all the way black. You're black if you have one drop of black blood. That was the idea. An effort to stop mixing, in sooth. Anyhow, I should take that as a compliment. We all should as Nigers. Ha ha ha. Anyhow, they certainly could not understand dialogue, and they knew nothing. Okay, I already read that part. When it was time to leave, a commissioner who was a bit tipsy but brimming with goodwill said, "Japan and America, all the same heart." Bit tipsy, bit drunk. He hugged the Commodore so hard. Okay. So hard that Perry's new epaulets were crushed. Perry did not mind the hug. "Oh," he said to his officers, "if they will only sign the treaty, he may kiss me." In other words, these Japanese really started to get very accustomed to blackface. They started to be very fond of the culture, very fond of this depiction of people of the black social status, just as we read in another book. Commodore Perry brought flesh and blood Negroes to Japan. They saw them. They got to understand what this art form was. They got to participate in it, learn it, and gain an expertise in it, in sooth. Now we have Urban Dictionary, which I often do not go to, but it's the description that it hath of blackface is quite fitting, and so I will read it now. Blackface, when white actors would paint their faces black to resemble black people, accompanied by a performance of stereotyping them as buffoons. All right, we have blackface. Makeup for, that's from American Heritage Dictionary, makeup for a conventionalized comic travesty of black people, especially a minstrel show. Now, anything having to do with comic has to do with comedy. That is to say, basically humor of basically on, at the expense of people of the black social status, especially in the minstrel show. So we have American Heritage Dictionary again, travesty, an exaggerated or grotesque, that is to say ugly imitation, such as a parody of a literary work, a debased or grotesque likeness, a travesty of justice. See synonyms at caricature, to make a travesty of, parody, or ridicule. American Heritage Dictionary, caricature. All right? Now, this is a representation, especially pictorial, or literary, in which the subject's distinctive features or peculiarities are deliberately exaggerated to produce a comic or grotesque effect. The art of creating such representation. So this is basically, literally, art to make, to bring out the qualities that they want to exaggerate about people of the black social status, us Nigers, and basically express them so that people can make fun of them, mock them, consider them, oh, look at that, isn't this person funny? His hair is like wool, his skin is brown, and his lips are big. This is the comic travesty, this is the caricature. This is the history of white supremacy in the United States that was carried forth to Japan, which already had a culture in which pale skin was considered to be beautiful. They have a culture where that was already the traditional standard of geisha beauty. And so the geisha skin is painted white. The geisha skin is painted white, basically to emphasize the beauty of pale skin, of whiteness in features, at least in regard to the skin. And so this is a highly coveted quality that geishas and most Japanese people want in a woman in general. The standard of beauty in Japan, for the most part, revolves around a standard of paleness. Darker shades of skin are considered to be ugly and unappealing. When you consider the traditional beauty standard of Japan, which is basically the epitome of geisha culture, this is common knowledge. The skin whitening cosmetic products sold in Japan are very numerous. They are very highly successful, even all over the world, because the companies know that people want to make their skin pale. And so in regard to this is an exaggeration of pale skin to the point where it is an exact contrast to blackface. In other words, instead of darkening the skin, they are paling it with paint. And so this is considered to be beautiful. So blackface is the exact opposite. This is done on purpose to emphasize not the beauty, but the ugliness of the character. Even going by traditional Japanese culture, we can see that. Souffle, we can see that. Most certainly. So, this is not something done to portray a beautiful character. This is something done to exaggerate the features to the point of a travesty. That is a travesty. What we are seeing here is a travesty. This is not even Mr. Popo. It is just another character drawn in blackface. So me and any one of us of the black social status who wants us to criticize this will and can. And as for myself, I am not intimidated by bigots. I will never block the leader of bigots or any bigot. They are welcome to have as many arguments with me as they want, and I will ask them to defend Akira Toriyama's art. Defend it. Defend it. Please do it. I do not need to show deference or be a fan of dead men. And I will not. Whatever your weird ideas of respect are, I do not need to adhere to them. So our ideas of respect are very different, in sooth. But anyhow, let me continue to listen to this man's very lewd and vulgar ranting, forsooth.
You don't care about it at all. You just saw an opportunity to try to make it a thing. You saw Akira Toriyama trending on Twitter, and you're like,
this hath already been a thing. This hath been a thing in regard to people of the black social status even before he died. And we will talk about it whenever we want to. I do not care if he is dead or alive. I will continue to talk about this. And considering this man's post on Twitter, he doth not have very much respect for people of the black social status to begin with, unless they are basically fans who agree with him. But if you do not agree with him, we already have seen his conduct. His conduct is not the conduct of a person who respects you as a person of the black social status. People like him do not respect you. All of you people of the black social status. And so I say this with confidence. This is pathetic. It really is. I have been waiting for a real substantial, intellectually cogent point for all this time. I've not heard one cogent point. I want to hear the substance of how this man's argument is better than the other man's. And I've not heard that yet.
like, hey, let me talk about this racially offensive character to me and see if I could get some clicks off of his death. That's what this person did, and that's why I have zero respect for him.
Okay, is he admitting that it is racially offensive? Is he making a statement about that at all? This is all thoroughly pathetic. Are people such as myself supposed to be intimidated by bigoted bullies like this? No, I have to have some intellectual edge, some ideological challenge. This is pathetic. This is thoroughly pathetic. This man, oh goodness, if his only argument is that he is a bigot, then he hath already lost the argument. And he may not respect us, but we certainly do not need to respect him. Or Akira Toriyama for that matter. Which, in sooth, one would ask the question, how have any of us disrespected him? We have just simply talked about his art that he made. We have an artistic opinion. When was having an artistic opinion disrespect? If that particular art that an artist hath made is embarrassing to him, peradventure he should have made different art. He knew what he was doing when he was making his art. I will never be ashamed of talking about this, and I am not going to be. He made this, and I'm going to talk about it. It doth not matter that the man has passed over. Akira Toriyama has never been able to defend this. Did he have a problem when his character, Mr. Popo, was changed to blue from black? No, they all knew that that was offensive. They all understood that. I am going to continue to educate my peers of the black social status about blackface. We are not going to be asleep. We're going to stay woke. We're going to be awake. We are not going to listen to the pro-sleep commentators who tell us, oh, you black folk, go to sleep. Oh, go to sleep, you Negroes, you Nigers. Why won't you Nigers go to sleep? You Nigers are awake. Go to sleep. Now, I have to say, that's pathetic. I have to say, to think you can really gain ground through insults. Now, some people may be afraid of that. I am not. I never have been afraid of that. I welcome them. Let me hear what he hath to say. This is pathetic.
And it seems like I'm not the only one. Again, we have so many people that are agreeing with what I was saying.
Well, being the leader of bigots, of the bigot army, it maketh sense that he would have a whole army of bigots who follow him. So clearly, he is the leader of the bigot army. Clearly, there are a lot of bigots. So that was already established from the very post and description of his Twitter profile itself. None of this is a surprise. That is obvious. I mean, are any of us supposed to be surprised that he has some peers who happen to be bigots like him, who have these opinions? This is thoroughly pathetic. Sue Fastly. All right, let me continue to play this inane dribble. It's hard to get through it. It is nearly done. Actually, I still have at least, goodness, it's horrible.
Because ultimately, whether you watch Dragon Ball Z religiously, whether you know Dragon Ball religiously, or whatever.
Religiously. This is the problem with fans. If you are a fan of anything, you should think about your choice to become a fan. The word fan means a fanatic. If you are a fanatic, you are not necessarily thinking logically about a matter. And this is why if you want to talk seriously about anything, any form of media, any video game, my recommendation to anyone, do not talk to a fan. Do not talk to a fan. Do not talk to a fanatic about anything. Do not get advice from fanatics regarding a particular topic. All right? He hath not yet made any argument against what I do not even think he really has really shown what this person said. And he has not been making arguments. He's just been insulting. Oh my goodness, how boring.
The case may be, or whether you're just a normie and you've only heard of the name. Ultimately, you grew up on Dragon Ball at some way, shape, or form at some point in time. Most little boys did.
And most of us of the black social status, some of us of the black social status did as well. But many of us knew that was blackface. We still watched it, but we knew what we were seeing in Mr. Popo was still something wrong. We just knew by how it looked. We knew by how our parents looked at us. When our parents would come into the room and look at us watching Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z and see Mr. Popo or some of these ridiculous black characters, they would say, "What the hell is this? What is this?" And they would say, "This is some blackface. This is some racist type of stuff." Many of us have watched these same cartoons, but does this mean that we have to agree and approve of every aspect of them and stop talking about a particular negative thing regarding them? This is not a religion to some of us. Some of us are not fanatics. Some of us can think logically about a thing without being basically tied to it. We are impartial, and we can do that. Thoroughly pathetic. Let me continue to play this man's video. I have been waiting for him to make any type of cogent point. Thus far, I have not yet.
Right, I can't be the only one. Most young boys did grow up watching DBZ. And then even when you became an adult, you was...
All of this is obvious. Whatever is his point other than an appeal to nostalgia, what is the point? Most people watching this video have watched Dragon Ball Z. The bigot army has watched Dragon Ball Z. What is the point? What is the point, leader of bigots, self-proclaimed psychopath, whatever is the point?
Still excited to see DBZ. When Dragon Ball Super came out, why do you think it was so successful? It's because so many people grew up on Dragon Ball and it became such a huge...
Oh my goodness, this person does not have very much in the way of personality, doth he? He doth not have much in the way of personality. This is so boring to listen to. I'm thinking, when are we going to hear something substantive? Is this really all you have? Oh my goodness, I'm waiting for something intellectually significant, intellectually stimulating, ideologically challenging.
Huge name that there is no way it wasn't going to be successful. It touched the hearts of many people, black and white, and every...
Wow. We can all come together. We can all come together under the Mr. Popo. We can all come together under the blackface art. And we're all supposed to approve of it. And we're supposed to like every aspect of the show, even though it's obvious blackface. Even though they changed him to blue because they knew what that was. And some people think they can bully people of the black social status to stop talking about this. It's been months and months, and I'm still talking about this, and I will continue to whenever I so please. And I will respond to anyone that I want to respond to and dare them to give a decent debate and actually express some cogent points, some substantive points. I can talk about the quick and the dead. Bless the Lord, He is the judge at the end of the day, and I do not need to fear. Death, let the dead bear the dead. I live in the spirit. I mean, these are platitudes. It's like you cannot talk about dead people. How absolutely asinine. He hath not really displayed how this man was disrespecting Akira Toriyama at all. How is he basically doing that to Akira Toriyama? How is he disrespecting him? How is he disrespecting him? How have any of us people of the black social status who have been talking about blackface art how have we been disrespecting him? How have we been doing it? In a sense, we are asserting ourselves, our dignity, and talking about a cultural matter that hath directly to do with us. He decided to draw us, and we are talking about how he drew us. Now, you may have some people who who are of the black social status, and they hate their social status. They hate what they look like. They hate being a Niger. They do not like it when other Nigers decide to say, we have dignity. We know when we are being insulted. We know when we are the joke. And frankly, we have every reason to talk about it. We have every reason to say something about it and express our opinions about it. And that is what I do here. And I basically goad the white supremacists to come into my comment forum and say something. Come to my comment forum, make a point. It is open. I want you to come in. If you're feeling bad, if you're losing arguments, just call me a Niger, use the N-word, out full, hard R and everything. I will not delete your comments. Express your anger, express your hate, express your rage. We have been talking about this for a long, long time. Anyone who hath been upon the forums has known how we have been treated on the forums for even bringing this up by bigots who are in the fan communities. Okay, and not just Dragon Ball, other animes too, where we bring up things like this, like blackface. Is this supposed to intimidate us? Some curse-laden rant?
Thing in between. That's the funny thing. That roasting video we just watched from Daquan was from a black guy. So what do you got to say about that? Right?
Which meaneth nothing. I mean, are we as people of the black social status all supposed to have the same opinion? Oh, well, I have a video from a black guy. I can't really talk about the argument because I'm not going to address it. I'm just going to insult the man, and I have a black guy, and he roasted him. Whatever that was, it was not even a roast. It was some weird man basically making some weird noises, cursing and acting like a complete buffoon, like a complete fool. I mean, how that was a roast is beyond me. I do not know what that was. The weird sounds he was making, I thought, this is obviously a man without style. And so, us people of the black social status are all born different. Some people, I have to say, not all of us have style. I do not know if that was what he considered humorous. Obviously, he did because he laughed. But personally, I was trying to understand the humor. How is this funny? I watched this video before. I thought it was stupid then. So how's that proving anything? You found one cornball, so to speak, in my opinion, man of the black social status, who's an obvious corny guy who likes anime, does not care about the history of blackface. In this case, appearances do not determine everything. All right? Some people know about blackface, they know about their history, and when they look at Dragon Ball Z, they have something to say about it. They say, wait, why can't black people be portrayed just like the pale and tawny folk, the people of pale and tan skin, in the anime? They say, why does Akira Toriyama, why did he continue over and over again to portray people of the black social status as Negroes like this? So why are us Nigers given such spiteful depictions? And we know why. So he has one black man to point, oh, I love a black man. You cannot call me racist. I have black friends. I have a black man who said it too. You can't call me racist. There's a black man. He's a man of the black social status who said, how absolutely asinine, boring, and redundant. I'm thinking, okay, you've shown the video now. You say, well, you can't call me racist. I have a black man. Well, we all have different opinions. We people of the black social status are not a monolith, so obviously there are black people who disagree with them, and there always has been. If there were not black people that thought that this was an issue in Dragon Ball, there would not be a blue Mr. Popo. That was, those were the anime companies making the decisions. They decided to change Mr. Popo to blue. And you people, you bigots, the bigot army is still defending him. Blue Mr. Popo is a result of what Akira Toriyama made. They knew it was blackface and they changed it. So we were right. And we've been talking about this for the longest kind of time. We didn't just start talking about this when this man died, but you better believe when he did die, we made sure everyone knew. And the bigot army did not like that. They called it disrespect, call it whatever you want. We are not digging up this man's grave and desecrating his body. We are not disrespecting the dead. We are just being honest. Some of you in the bigot army and bigots in general, you do not like it when we of the black social status show a bit of nerve. You really do not. You like us to be in a position where we keep our mouths shut and we say, I like anime, it's not racist. You like those people, you like those Nigers. You do not like this type of Niger. And we know you do not. And a person like me hopes you call me a Niger. Because I am so happy and proud to be one. I do not run from the terminology. Say with the hard R. Come into my comment section and give me all the insults you want to give me. Because I just love it. I really do. It's wonderful. Let me tell you, you white supremacists, you bigots, you do not realize how joyful you all make me. It just pumps fire through my blood having to deal with you people. This is wonderful. I'm completely unbothered by it, and I love it. Keep doing it. I want to see something ideologically challenging. Challenge me. Come on, let's do it. Let's hear this man.
Right? What do you got to say about that? It's the tourists of the scene that have an issue with it, right? These people are tourists. It's the same thing like Sweet Baby Inc.
Oh my goodness, these people and the little slang and oh my goodness. I mean, which, as far as I remember, used to be liberals who used to say the tourist. In other words, the idea was if you do not like something about the anime or the manga, if you have a problem with a particular aspect of it, you're just a tourist and you're not really a fan. Well, fans are fanatics. A true connoisseur of art is able to analyze elements that may be negative or positive and come to a nuanced appreciation and understanding of the art piece. A fanatic is a person who says, I like everything Toriyama makes, it's good. This is why he's saying, oh, they watched it religiously. Yes, because some of you people did. You really liked it. And you were fanatics. And you had nothing bad to say about it. And this is the gospel to you. This is religion to you. In sooth.
The same thing with gaming. They're all tourists. They actually don't watch anime. They actually don't read manga. They don't care about this.
Really? What broad accusations? So none of them read manga. None of them, after all, they have different opinions than thee. And so, excuse me, obviously, these people do not at all participate in reading the manga and watching the anime or playing video games. They do not do it at all. How pitiful this argumentation is. How intellectually deprived this whole monologue is. This is pathetic. This is piss poor commentary. Oh, goodness, Lord. Lord, no, if this is horrible. Let me continue. I have to keep listening.
Stuff. They only care about it when it's racially, good for them to do so. When they're able to actually grift off of anything that's in the scene that they deem offensive. That's when they're going to jump in. That's when they're going to say something.
What doth that mean? In other words, we see something racial in a particular piece of media and we talk about it. So he still hath not explained how anyone is grifting, how anyone is playing confidence games or obtaining money illicitly through scams, confidence games, or other fraudulent means. He hath not explained this. This is thoroughly pathetic and baseless. He is not even explaining himself. It's so ridiculous. Okay? So thoroughly ridiculous. I have to say, this is just... Okay, let me continue.
And that's when they're actually going to try to get their point across. But until then, they don't care. They're at home watching, Housewives of Atlanta or something. They don't really care about anything that we're into. This is why gatekeeping is a thing.
What manner of projection was that? Housewives of Atlanta? What is he talking about? Oh my God, what is he talking about? Literally, what is he talking about? Where did he even come up with that? I mean, this is thoroughly pathetic. This is absolutely... Woo! Oh my goodness. I thought that... I knew this was going to be pretty ideologically deprived, pretty intellectually vacuous, but I did not expect this to be so low-lay. I thought, well, this should be a bit... there should be something to this man's points. He should make some manner of point, but he really went through the whole video basically ranting, raving, bunch of curse words. This was not very enlightening whatsoever. I thought I was going to get in an argument. I thought I was going to hear about why this man that he was arguing with was wrong. I thought he was going to present the man's argument. He did nothing of the sort. He apparently has a black man who agreeth with him, and therefore, in some wise, he's vindicated. And where is the argument? How is Akira Toriyama's Blackface not a matter to be discussed? And how is discussing Akira Toriyama's Blackface art, how is that disrespect? We are grown men. We are men. None of us are doing anything to that man, to his memory, to his grave. We are just simply talking about the art that he made. You could say we are not necessarily respecting his art, but that is because we are not fanatics. And real connoisseurs of art are going to judge art critically. They are going to look at different aspects of it. They are not going to simply say, this art is good. I watched it religiously when I was a kid. I really like Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball is good. I really do like that Akira Toriyama. He's really good. This is what people in cults do. This is not what thinking people do. Oh my goodness. Thoroughly, thoroughly low.
This is why Gamergate 2.0 is currently happening, and it will continue to happen against people like...
Oh Lord, the Gamergate people. Obviously. Obviously, okay. Okay. Anyhow, let me continue.
So let it be known to morons like this guy who decided to block me, if you want to attack someone who's no longer alive, guess who's going to defend?
I mean, comparing, literally vindicating blackface art and saying a black person looketh like Mr. Popo, who's literally all black skin. Literal blackface art. Literal art used to denigrate black people, and you really thought you would not be blocked? You really thought by trying to essentially buck break a man of the black social status, no matter how goofy he looks, you really thought you would be able to do that? He's not as stupid as you may think he looks then. Because no person with much sense would bother with you. Except maybe people who say, hey, you call me whatever you want. Come to my channel. You can even write it in the comment forum. You can make a video about me calling me an N-word. I won't report it or anything. Call me a Niger with the hard R. I will say, please do it. You're giving me such a blessing. It's such an honor to be a Niger. Say it and say it proud. I'm a Niger and I'm proud. Not I'm black and I'm proud. They both mean the same thing. I'm a Niger and I'm proud. A person such as yourself cannot get under my skin. You know, if you wanted this to be an argument, you should have decided to do it with me. That man, he just does not want to deal with you. That is all. If you want a real argument about this, let me do it. I will tell you exactly why I will talk about Akira Toriyama's blackface art even as he lieth in the ground dead. Whether he be in heaven or hell. Bless the Lord. I'm not afraid of that. I'm not a fan at all. I consider myself to be a connoisseur of fine art in the sense that I will judge it critically. Alright? I will judge that art and say, well, this aspect is particularly bad, this aspect is particularly good, and this aspect is particularly what? It's particularly racist like blackface art. Okay, that is what it is. Seen from, you know, Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Ball GT. Everyone looketh normal except the brown skinned black people. They look like complete caricatures of black people in the worst way, but you love that because you are a bigot and you have the bigot army, and they're all bigots and they love this. And that doth not intimidate me, because your contempt, your despise is not an argument, nor will it ever be. Come up with some heat. Come up with that smoke. Alright? Because this is pathetic. I want something ideologically challenging. I want to feel some ideological edge. And this is not it. It is intellectually lowly. I expect even more from a video like this.
It's not going to be himself, and he never would have gave you the benefit of the time anyway. It's not going to be him. It's going to be people who are fans of his work. And when I say, I promised in my last video when I talked about that retard Chris Kindred,
and you would think, you know, that word fan has become so very, very populous. I mean, that word fan has become very popular, but many people, they do not understand a fan is a fanatic. That is where the word comes from. That is what the word means. And this is why. Because the reason you can tell he is a fanatic is because anyone who wants to criticize this obviously blackface, you know, art is receiving criticism, but he's not saying why. You know, he is criticizing this man for bringing up the fact that Akira Toriyama created blackface art. He is not even examining the art, the argument in full. He just simply went upon a tirade, a rant that had no real substantive content, that had no cogent points behind it. It's just him saying, oh, he's an idiot, he's a moron, he's this, he's that. What else? Is this it? Go for the N. Go for the Niger word. Come on. Tell us how you really feel. Say what you really want to say. I am looking for the leader of the bigot army. Come on. Give us that big N. We want it. I want it. Let me hear it out of your mouth. Come on, give it to me. Just say it. Say how you feel. You're not doing good enough. These insults are not hitting. Come on, give us the end. Call us Niger like the first Christians of Antioch. Bless the Lord. I can absorb any insult. I am the right person to choose to get into an argument with. You chose the wrong person. I know the history of blackface in Japan. You chose the wrong person. If you think he was disrespectful of Akira Toriyama, you certainly will think I am, even though I do not think it is disrespect. I think I am talking about his art as a critic. And you know a fanatic when he does not want to acknowledge criticism. He does not want criticism to be valid, and he doth not want to acknowledge it. So that is his motivation. That is how he is doing things, forsooth. But let me listen to the very last bit of this.
Said that I'm going to devote all my power and time to making sure these companies and people like this get exposed for the pieces of shit they are. Well, guess what? You are also on that list as well for the bigot army. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it.
Not much of anything. Low commentary. I expected something skillful, masterful, intellectual, quite impressive. And I know some may say, why would you expect that out of a man like this? But I did. Because that's the type of commentary I give. And I thought, well, I should be able to find at least one cogent point here that goeth beyond him literally making insults. Alright? I thought I would be able to find that. And I feel like I had all this information prepared to present. I was going to listen to his point and present a great deal of information, but now I think I only really need to present a little bit. But let me play the very last bit of it.
Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you
No,
thought.
thank thee. I will not like it.
Hypnotic out.
I will not give it any engagement at all. Oh my goodness, this is pathetic fandom. Why would you want to be a fanatic of anything? I really do not recommend it. Anyhow, I believe I've talked about a great deal. I could talk about honorary Aryans. I could talk about Ainu, Ryukuans. The fact that there are different groups other than just the majority Yamato Japanese, and that Japan is not an homogeneous country. It has at least two significant indigenous groups alongside the average Yamato Japanese person, and a whole Burakuman sub-ethnicity. But nonetheless, I think I've said enough. I think I've addressed this man's point, because I thought this man would bring up some very substantial points. Not so much substantial, but I thought they would be more. I thought he would actually get into the process of cogent argumentation at some point, but I just listened to it and I just realized this man is simply going to curse, is he not? He is simply going to curse and basically talk about disrespect while not really defining the boundaries of respect and disrespect. Please define what disrespect is to you. Please define what it is, that was done. Please define what is disrespectful. Because it seemeth to me he had every reason to block a person who was literally coming into his comment section and literally saying that he looketh like a caricature with literally all black skin like night. And he was trying to be cute with it. He was trying to parrot his little white supremacist talking points of white exceptionalism, of saying, well, you Negroes sold your own people. You those African Negroes sold you to people of the white socialists. This is some KKK white supremacist stuff. It really is. Okay, you can make it that excuse. Did you have to take slaves? Did you have to put them on ships? Did these white supremacists have to do that? that they have to take them to the Americas, that they have to take them to Brazil, that they have to take them to Colombia, that they have to take them to all throughout Latin America, all throughout North America, to Britain, all of these places, that they have to create a whole slave economy and literally create a system of banks where literally their banks are funded by slave wealth, that they have to do that they have to create whole blackface minstrel shows, Ethiopian concerts, that they have to mock the appearance of the people who were enslaved, that they have to enslave other people of the white social status indentured servants, that they have to slave American Indian tribes, Accomack, that they have to take land from the Shinnecock, that they have to break treaty after treaty, that they have to... I could go on and on and on and on, that they have to take land with the Homestead Acts, giving the people of the white social status who moved out west 160 acres each for free for whoever traveled out there. Bless the Lord, I can bring all of that out. So him saying this is not much of a point. Oh, there were some Africans that sold other Africans, but what was the amount of slaves in this country? Over what? Over 300 and so thousand? Not even as much as Latin America? What is the point? How are you going to apologize for the enslavement of, and he needeth not apologize, but this is just a matter of points. Okay, how do you explain then the slavery of American Indians? How do you explain the enslavement of slaves on the East Coast, American Indians on the East Coast? How doth he explain that? That is very interesting. How does he explain the broken treaties? What is the point? Oh, blacks, you see a person who does not look to your taste, who does not really look to my taste either. In other words, he looks goofy in my opinion, which is very important. That we say that this is just a matter of opinion, that we both can say this man, he looks kind of strange, but is that really the point of the argument? Is that really a good argument to make? No, it's not. It really is not. Okay, you want to talk about the gene pool and African blacks selling other African blacks? Is that it? We have a long list of American atrocities and European atrocities. What is this? How is this cogent to the point being made? How have you argued against that man's point? You have not. That was pathetic. This whole video was pathetic. This is why Gamergate was a joke when it started, and if they make another Gamergate, which so many of them are talking about, it would be a joke now. And it still is. It always has been a joke. I mean, in sooth. Not to say I even play many video games now, but I never supported that group because it was full of a bunch of bigots like him. Okay. Why would I support people who openly disrespect me, do not like me, and support racist blackface art? I'm not a fanatic and never will be. Anyhow, viewers, I am sorry you all had to listen to that rambling that man that was coming out of his mouth, that you had to listen to that man of the black social status's horrid comedy, that comedy that was so terrible. I thought, how is this man funny? This is not funny. How can this be funny? Lord, no, if that was just a bunch of weird sounds, a bunch of really lowbrow insults and cursing. Lord, no, if that was just pathetic to me. Anyhow, viewers, I would like to say, as always, may you be blessed and farewell.